Welcome back to Before You Go. Today's video is entitled Meltdowns and Beatdowns, a Before You Go tutorial on externalizing behaviors and violating social norms. And it features none other than Will and Jada, our best couple performance. And of course, not making light of the fact that Will Smith did win the Oscar yesterday evening for Best Actor for King Richard. So, congratulations to Will, Jada, and his family. Before we get started, go ahead and like, subscribe, turn on the notifications bell. I really appreciate you supporting us, and I also look forward to your comment and feedback down in the comment section. I'm also going to post the fair use label here. You're going to see video, photos, things like that, social media commentary. All of that stuff is used under fair use for criticism, commentary, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and or research. All right, let's hop into it. So over the past less than 24 hours, so much has taken place online in the news surrounding this, what I call the smack heard around the world, right? This smack that Will Smith handed down to comedian Chris Rock because of a joke Chris Rock made about Jada's hair. Jada, as most of us know, is suffering from alopecia, which caused her to really kind of shave her head bald. She looks really nice, looked really nice yesterday evening with her emerald green dress on, matching eye makeup. She just looks very fashionable and elegant. But apparently, the joke was enough to set Will off. And like I said, it was the smack heard around the world. There were 55 million people watching live at that very moment. Not only did he smack Chris Rock, but he also walked back to his seat and started to yell and curse at him, daring him to say anything else about his wife. So me, like many other people, I initially thought it was a joke. I thought it was a skit, a bit of comedy. But I quickly saw, as many others did, that, hey, I don't think this is a joke based on Chris Rock's expression, his reaction, based on the crowd's reaction. And Will seemed pretty darn serious when he went back to his seat. So it just all indicated that it was very, very real. Some of the best commentary came from, actual viewers and people on social media. There were way better comments on social media than anything you saw in the news. One guy said, "Hey, did Will just punch Chris Rock on live TV?" I'm sorry, it's a female. And someone else says, "Can we have a live Will Smith reaction cam for the rest of the show?" I mean, so this was just going on and on throughout the whole episode. Another person said, Nicole Kidman should get Best Oscar for Best Reaction to the slapping. And this is quite a reaction that you see here from Nicole Kidman. One of my favorites was this guy over here on the left who is trying to figure out his statement about the whole situation. I think all of us kind of felt that way at the beginning. He said he's on his way to work and he's trying to figure out how he's going to, relay this information. And it's just a hodgepodge, a big disaster of information here. So at least we could make light of it. I do realize that a lot of people would have liked to see them, scrap and maybe fall onto the floor and fight, at least have a shoving match of some sort. And, that did not occur, thank goodness, because again, there were millions of people watching. And somebody had to take the high road, in that case. Now, I don't know if it's life imitating art or art imitating life, but as you know, Chris Rock had the Everybody Hates Chris show, and it really was about his childhood, loosely based on his childhood, but about a childhood in the 1980s where he, went to public school and had to face bullying and being the only black student in some situations. And so, Everybody Hates Chris was the theme of it because he was humiliated so often during his experiences in school, and particularly with a bully that he ended up facing. And so, again, sometimes art imitates life and vice versa. On the other side of the coin, we have people who just were disgusted with the act. The fact that this man, Chris Rock, was actually assaulted on live TV. And so you can see some of the comments here. I'm officially done with Will Smith. Violence is never the answer. Those of you giving props to Will Smith, just understand that blank could have been worse if Chris Rock decided to be as unprofessional as Will was. And take it into account that these comments are coming from as far as India, right? So again, this is a worldwide event, unfortunately. Another person says it's okay to assault someone on television as long as you're famous. Nice to see the Academy let him sit there the rest of the show. Well, I think they let him sit there because they knew he was about to win the Oscar, and that would have been even more awkward if you escorted him out prior to him getting the award. So it really was just a very awkward and unfortunate situation caused by this person getting up out of his seat and, hauling off and slapping someone. Now, as we always do here at Before You Go, we talk about the mental health connection. And again, this is a quick video, so I won't dig too deep into it. But I do want to talk about internalizing and externalizing behaviors, right? And so Will clearly had an externalizing behavior, that slapping of someone publicly. But then that was followed by this meltdown, him crying during his speech. And really, it wasn't a speech to accept the award, it was more of an apology and him trying to frame his actions as if he were protecting his family, meaning his wife, and even mentioned protecting, some of the women in his movie, the woman who played his wife and the two girls who played Venus and Serena. So it's just a little bit odd, kind of sounding like maybe some talking points that a publicist or somebody had given him, but it just was a very awkward situation. But again, it was quite evident that he had the externalizing behaviors there. Now, on the other side of that coin, you may want to talk about internalizing behaviors, which I'll talk about in a second. But those externalizing behaviors, they're very, very easy to see, right? That's the hicking, the hitting, the kicking, the, screaming and yelling, those very external behaviors that, if you're a therapist or a psychiatrist or psychologist, those things are obvious. You have tons of ways to treat the things that you can see, right? The things that are right in front of your face. And so again, Will exhibited that last night, as do other people in regular life and, in front of and behind the screen, if you will. Now, the other part to that, as I was going to say before, is internalizing behaviors, right? And so those are a little bit trickier to observe because people hide them very well. They appear to be easygoing, sometimes even a perfectionist, but on the inside, they are really internalizing whatever trauma and emotional issues they have, and so that could have been what led Will to just kind of explode like a volcano yesterday. We have publicly seen again that he's had a lot of, trauma in terms of the situation with the affair with his wife, maybe career not going, as well as he wanted it to at some point, just family issues. Just a lot of things have happened with Will, and he just kind of grins and bears it. And apparently, he internalized some of those things. And like I said before, with Chris Rock, his whole sitcom was based on, this humiliation that he faced throughout his formative years, right? And so sometimes you internalize that. Sometimes you're able to get it out of your system through things like comedy, okay? So I just wanted to kind of briefly talk about those two sets of behavior, one being very obvious, one not so obvious, okay? But again, I do realize that a lot of people would have just liked to have seen those two box it out, meltdown or no meltdown, you know what I mean? But keep in mind that those meltdowns can occur outside, as you saw with Will, and inside, and with that being said, let's keep our eyes out and our hearts open for Chris Rock. because he was humiliated in that manner, and because he may have internalized some of that stuff, you don't know what triggers him, right? And so we have to have that grace and mercy for him, and rather than it being a hilarious moment for some, or at least fodder for all types of industry outlets, let's keep him in mind, and let's talk about how we can support him and other people who have been through those sort of things. Now, I found it interesting that a lot of people justify Will slapping him, because he did make fun. He made the joke about Jada's hair, and she suffers from alopecia. Now, I have the definition of it here. I won't read it to you, but it is a real, issue. It's in some cases an autoimmune issue caused by stress. But if we're going to think along those lines, let's also remember that in 2020, Chris Rock revealed that he had autism. Now, at the time, they talked about it being Asperger's, which we no longer use that terminology. But he does have a nonverbal disorder that causes him not to be able to read social cues and nonverbal indicators and signs very well. I'll put it that way. And so if you look at it that way, did Will Smith assault a disabled person, right? So two wrongs don't make a right, is my point. And when we talk about breaking pathologies, we talk about those traumas, those actions, mental those thoughts, those behaviors, anything that you do that is maladaptive, that is passed on from generation to generation, that keeps you from growing, right? That keeps you stuck in a certain space. That is a pathology, also called a sort of disease of the mind. And also, again, can be behavioral. But with all that aside, I want to talk about the pathology of ego. Ego in itself is not a bad thing, right? If you talk about a basic definition of ego, it's just a person's sense of self esteem and their sense of self importance. Again, not necessarily a bad thing. It actually, if you have a little bit of ego, it helps you, work out and care about the way you look. It may help you take care of others in a certain way and give you fulfillment and joy in doing so. Ego really helps us, it kind of pulls us up, mentally when other factors are beating us down, if you will. Ego is good, like for day to day activities where, you may want a little bit more confidence. You want to be able to share photos and things on social media. You want to be able to go and interact with new people or even friends and peers. A little bit of ego allows you to have that self confidence to be able to do that. Now, when you get into the deeper definition of ego, you start to talk about the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious. And that's the part I want to talk about, that deeper dive again. And if you talk about it in terms of that definition, that deeper layer, that's when you start to talk about being mentally strong and having what I call endurance, right? And so therefore, again, the ego is great. Sometimes if you have too much ego, it becomes, arrogance and things like that. I've talked about that before. But again, if you peel back the layers and go a little bit deeper, if you really understand ego and the purpose of ego, it can help you mentally strong, okay? And I think that's what we kind of saw in the case of Chris Rock. I've seen all these memes, and some of them are funny and things like that. But I came up with this quote: "Ego makes you slap someone in front of 55 million people. Endurance allows you to accept it and still wake up in the morning." Right? And so that's just food for thought. Again, all of this stuff is funny. It's entertainment. It's fodder. But when you think about the two individuals involved, you see that these people are in real pain. And I hope that they just, learn something from it and it becomes a teachable moment of sorts. In terms of Chris Rock, I hope that he was able to wake up this morning. And again, because I think he's one of those people with that endurance, he appears to be. I hope he was able to wake up this morning and just, kind of take it on the chin, like he did physically, take it on the chin figuratively and keep going. Um, I think it's funny that about an hour ago, Will Smith did issue a public apology. But to me, the apology needs to be as big as the assault, right? The apology needs to be as big as the harm, right? And we know that when you verbally say something to someone, it cuts them really deeply, and you have to try to undo that, many times over. And so I don't even know what the research shows about, physically hurting someone, how you get over that, and if you can get over it. But here's the apology. Here he did a issue the apology. Won't read it to you. I'm sure it's something that talks about, what he's learned. It was a teachable moment. And he says here, I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. It was out of line and I was wrong. Well, in hindsight, that means something. But I thought again, when you talk about art imitating life, Chris Rock is on a world tour, or headed to a world tour, and it just happens to be called Ego Death. How appropriate is that, for this situation? And so here, it's very unfortunate. Again, you have two men, two grown men, African American, who found themselves in this situation, and one took the high road, but again, I want to know what our outcome is, from this situation. And I am going to leave you with a few questions here, right? Food for thought. I would love if you would comment down in the comment section below, and let me know your thoughts. But I just want to know, what did you learn from this incident, excuse me. It's been almost 24 hours, so we've had a lot of time to kind of think on it, and we've seen things unfold. So did you learn anything from this instance? And I'll leave it at that. And I also thought about some, what ifs, or wouldn't it be nice if? And I'll leave you with a couple of those. I thought, wouldn't it be nice if Chris Rock and Will Smith made a blockbuster movie together? And of course, if he's really sorry, he would allow Chris Rock to get the bigger paycheck, right? Wouldn't it be nice if we could see those two in, one of those blockbuster action films, or even a comedy or something? It would be really nice. And wouldn't it be nice if Chris Rock went on the Red Table Talk, but he was able to ask the questions? So those are just some food for thought. Wouldn't it be nice? And here's my last thought. Wouldn't it be nice if we stopped hiding behind the Protect the Black Woman moniker? Wouldn't that be nice? What if it was just part of our social fabric? Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if it was part of our social, work, and familial norms? Wouldn't that be nice, guys? So, as always, again, this was a quick tutorial, quick commentary and video. I hope it was useful for you. I hope you learned some information and tips, and this helps you on your road to emotional freedom. Again, if you like this content and commentary, please head over to our website at mixedgreensforthesoul.com. Again, that's mixedgreensforthesoul.com. Until we meet again, I appreciate you guys. I appreciate your support, your commentary, your likes, your subscriptions. Talk to you soon.